Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Al Dia Hispanic Heritage Awards Ceremony 2020. I'm Walter Perez, your host. Before we begin with our program for this evening, I would like to introduce Dynasty Battles, an acclaimed pianist based in Philadelphia who's performed around the U.S. and across Europe as well. Most recently, he was an honoree at the inaugural Al Dia 40 Under 40 event. Ladies and gentlemen, Dynasty Battles.
Hello, my name is Dynasty Battles, and I'm a pianist. Thank you, Al Dia, for having me. I'll be performing Chopin Waltz in A-flat major, opus 42. It was composed in 1840. It's considered to be his most interesting and challenging waltz to perform. I hope it inspires you like it has inspired me, although it was written many years ago. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dynasty, for that wonderful performance. Once again, my name is Walter Perez, anchor and reporter for Channel 6 Action News right here in the great city of Philadelphia. It is my honor to once again host the Al Dia Hispanic Heritage Awards. Clearly, we're doing it virtually this year, but be assured you will enjoy this presentation nonetheless. It's also important to mention that this event would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. So thank you to our title sponsor, PICO, our co-presenting sponsor, Comcast, and supporting sponsors, Independence Blue Cross, Jefferson Health, Villanova University, Widener University, SEPTA, Temple Health, Penn Medicine, First Trust Bank, WSFS Bank, Wells Fargo, and of course our community sponsors, Cabrini University, Community College of Philadelphia, and Einstein Health Network. Over the course of 5 years, Al Dia Hispanic Heritage Awards ceremony has become the premier celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month in the Philadelphia region. Here now is a look back at the journey that brought us to where we are today. All right, time now to introduce Daniela Mack, along with pianist Kyun A. Lee, to perform the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and broke its red glare among bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, Daniela and Kyun. It is now my honor to introduce Hernan Guaracao, founder and CEO of Al Dia News.
Bienvenidos. Welcome. Welcome to the annual presentation of Al Dia Archetypes. And what is Al Dia Archetypes? Well, simply put, it's a different approach to tell the story of Americans of Latino descent. As you know, narratives about Latinos in the United States are driven primarily by stereotypes. Al Dia started 5 years ago, the celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month in Philadelphia, with a simple idea in mind. We decided it was about time to bring out that other reality, the one represented by the extraordinary individuals you will meet today. We call these individuals the archetypes the archetypes of the Hispanic experience in the U.S. Their story deserves to be better known because, in a way, are the American story of the 21st century. Aldea places them where they deserve to be seen, the front page of a glossy print publication called Aldea. They have been disseminated also across the internet, not only in Spanish but also in English, as it should be, so everybody could read them and get to know the exceptional individuals we are celebrating today. This year, we have great news to report. The business community has welcomed our efforts and has agreed to lend its crucial support. For the first time, 19 CEOs of major corporations and influential institutions in our city have joined Aldea's advisory board for the 2020 celebration. With their support, Aldea's event is now the premier celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month in Pennsylvania. Today, we'll have Governor Tom Wolf among us. Also, the CEO of Jefferson Health System, Stephen Glasgow, the president of Villanova University, Father Peter Donahue, the president of Rider University, Dr. Julie Wellman, the senior vice president of Independent Blue Cross, Juan Lopez, and the senior vice president of PICO, Mayra Berman. Larry Bowman, and the trust played by all of you who are attending this event tonight will make this event one of the most significant celebrations of Hispanic heritage in the East Coast. That's why we brought our keynote speaker all the way from California. He's the genius behind the creation of a multi-billion-dollar brand at PepsiCo, one of the largest corporations in the world. You'll be inspired by our keynote speaker, Mr. Richard Montañez, one of the most influential Latino leaders in corporate America. It is now my privilege to introduce to you one of these enlightened CEOs behind this year's event, the one that has stepped up the most. It's Michael Inocenzo, the president and CEO of PICO and co-chair of the 2020 Hispanic Heritage Celebration. Thank you, Michael, for setting the example and for being such a champion for diversity, a more comprehensive notion of diversity that fully includes Americans of Latino descent. Your leadership is not only transforming your company, but also our region, where you stand as a sterling example of CEO leadership for the 21st century. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Michael Inocenzo, CEO of PICO and co-chair of Aldea Hispanic Heritage Awards Program.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here tonight celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. Thank you to Aldea and Hernan Gorcal for inviting me to co-chair this important event. I'm proud to co-chair alongside Judge Nelson Diaz, who, in addition to being a PICO board member and a friend, has made significant contributions to the Hispanic community in Philadelphia and our nation. Hispanic Heritage Month is a time to recognize and honor the many contributions of both Hispanics and Latinos to the country and our culture. Tonight, we will honor extraordinary Americans of Hispanic descent who have made significant impact in our communities right here in Pennsylvania. Our honorees tonight, Dr. Jack Ludmere, Carolina Cabrera DeGiorgio, Lou Rodriguez, Representative Danilo Burgess, and Dr. Evelyn Nunez, have made exceptional contributions in their field. They are truly the archetypes of our history. They elevate the work many Latinos do in our communities day in and day out, making meaningful contributions to our society. I commend Aldea for shaping the narrative around Latino talent and for showcasing these incredible stories. This Hispanic Heritage Month takes place at a time that is unlike any other. With the COVID-19 pandemic as a backdrop, recent events have sparked a renewed call for reform, social justice, and equity. And as we speak, our country is gearing up for a presidential election. In this time of great divide, Latinos are coming together to help address the issues that are facing our society. You are advancing the conversation around race, equity, immigration reform, and immigrant rights. You are rallying our community to vote. And you are not alone. We at PICO join the Latino community in the fight to dismantle systemic racism and support your individual and collective efforts. It's now my pleasure to introduce Pennsylvania's 47th governor, the Honorable Tom Wolf. Governor Wolf was first elected in 2014 and was re-elected overwhelmingly in 2018. The governor brought his background as a small business owner to Harrisburg, implementing government reforms on day one of his administration. He's focused his efforts on funding education, access to health care, and growing our economy, all important issues to our Hispanic community. Of course, 2020 has presented the governor and his team with challenges that none of us anticipated. The COVID pandemic its economic fallout, and a national movement for greater social justice. Through all of this, Governor Wolf has worked to lead with accessibility and accountability, and I'm pleased to say a passion for supporting our region. Please welcome Governor Tom Wolf.
Hi, I'm Governor Tom Wolf. It's my privilege to welcome you to the Al Dia News 5th Annual Hispanic Heritage Awards. Every year, this ceremony celebrates the best and brightest in Pennsylvania. I am honored to help showcase the talents of some of our most accomplished Pennsylvanians of Hispanic descent in the areas of business, education, health, nonprofit service, and public service. I extend my congratulations to Dr. Jack Ludmir, Executive Vice President for Equity and Associate Provost of Community Engagement with Jefferson Health System; Carolina Cabrera de Giorgio, CEO of Congreso de Latino Unidos; Lou Rodriguez, entrepreneur and CEO of Rodriguez Consulting, LLC; Danilo Burgos, a member of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives; and Dr. Evelyn Nunez, Chief of Schools at the School District of Philadelphia. Pennsylvania is strongest when the talents of all its citizens are celebrated. So I thank each of you for your service to our Commonwealth and wish you all the best for continued success. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Wolf, and all of our distinguished speakers. It is now my pleasure to introduce tonight's keynote speaker, Mr. Richard Montañez. Mr. Montañez leads multicultural sales and marketing for PepsiCo's North American divisions. Throughout his amazing career, Mr. Montañez has held an array of high-ranking positions with Pepsi and Frito-Lay, but his career at PepsiCo actually started in 1976 as a janitor. Despite his humble beginnings, Mr. Montañez went on to become the recognized creator of the Flamin' Hot line of products, which have become their own cultural phenomenon and a billion-dollar asset. Recognized for his visionary leadership, innovative skills, and a commitment to diversity, he's received a string of notable awards, along with being routinely recognized as one of the most influential Latinos in corporate America. Without further ado, Mr. Richard Montañez.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here with you. I wish I was actually there in Philly because I love the city of Philadelphia. First of all, I want to thank Al Dia for putting this together. I want to thank the city. I want to thank all the sponsors. And I want to congratulate all the honorees. What a great moment when Latinos come together to celebrate the contributions that we've all done in this country. You know, I love this country with all my heart. My grandparents loved it. My father loved it. And he taught me to love it. And as a Latino growing up, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. You know, I grew up in a farm labor camp. You know, everybody in my family picked grapes. My birth certificate is, I think it's cool, but it doesn't have an address. It says house number 18. Because remember, it's a labor camp. We didn't have houses. We had kind of like motel rooms, you know. So that's kind of where I started back in Southern California. And I've always said, as a Latino, all you need is one revelation. Listen to me. All you need is one revelation to create a revolution in your life. And that's what Latinos do, is we create revolutions. So what is a revelation? It's simply this. A revelation is something that's been there all along, but it's been revealed or unveiled to you. So I'm going to tell you about my first revelation, which was Hot Cheetos, and how it revolutionized my industry, my life, the life of my family, corporate America. So let's go back a long time ago. I got hired at Frito-Lay. And when I got hired as the janitor. See, I killed chickens for a living. I worked at a car wash, and I was a gardener. I've done all that stuff. And then one day, my neighbor said they're hiring at Frito-Lay. And I said, Frito-Lay, oh my God, just think if I could get a job at Frito-Lay. I could go from the fields into the factories. And people would say like, man, calm down. It's just a factory job. No. A Latino never looks at opportunity as just something. We take it to the extreme. I just said, if I could get a job at Frito-Lay, I could change the legacy for the Montañez family. And somebody said, well, wow, you started at the bottom. No, I started at the beginning. It is never the bottom. Young people, listen to me. It is never the bottom. It is the beginning. Everyone has a beginning. So I really couldn't read and write at that time because I quit school at a young age. Somebody said you a high school dropout? No, because you got to go to high school to be a high school dropout, and I never made it to high school. But yet I teach leadership classes at some of the top universities in the country. I've taught at Harvard, Notre Dame, Pepperdine, USC, UCLA, without a high school diploma. But this is what I like to tell people. Look at me. So I like to tell people, I didn't stay there. Today I tell people I'm probably the most uneducated, brilliant person you will ever meet. And this is what I like to tell young people. Look how far I got without an education. Just imagine how far you can get with one. I'm a firm believer in education. Just because I didn't get it doesn't mean I don't want you to have it. So my wife filled out the application, and I got the job on the spot. And my first job was a janitor. And, this was 1976. There's one thing that I thank God for in 1976. And you know what that is? They didn't do background checks. I got hired right on the spot. I'm not saying I had anything bad to hide. I just didn't have anything good to show. So the HR guy said, can you start tonight on the graveyard shift as the janitor? The fancy word was porter. I said, absolutely. So I ran home to tell my grandfather and my father that I got the job. And the labor camp is about a quarter mile from the Frito-Lay plant. I remember I ran there and I told them, I got the job. I got the hire. And I remember my grandfather looked at me and said, well, ¿qué hacen ahí? And I'm like, papas fritas, potato chips. And he said, what are you going to do? I want to mop the floors. And he said something to me that is the foundation of my success today. And I want to give it to you, especially if you're a young person, entrepreneur, or even a leader. I want you to get a hold of this. This is what he told me. What are you going to do, Miguel? I'm going to mop the floors. And he looked me straight in the eyes, and he said this. When you mop that floor, you make sure that it shines, then when people look at it, they know that a Montañez mopped it. You know that I actually took that on? When I started at work, I mopped the floors. I mean, it wasn't about PepsiCo. It wasn't about Frito-Lay. It wasn't even about my pay. It was about my last name. That's what I want to tell you, entrepreneurs and young people. The pay is great and all that stuff is good, but never make it about that. Make it about your last name, because your legacy is not in your business. Your legacy is not in your pay. Your legacy is in your last name. That's where your influence is. And I found out even as a janitor, I had influence. Somebody said, how can a janitor have influence? First of all, let me tell you this about influence. I'm not trying to influence everyone. I'm only trying to influence the right ones. So I was mopping the bathrooms, the kitchen, the cafeteria, and all the offices, and I saw that people were going into the bathrooms, walking out saying, man, it's clean in here. Who cleaned it? Going into the cafeteria. Wow, who cleaned the cafeteria? Going into the office, the managers were saying, wow, who cleaned my office? And they all pointed to that Mexican. And they said, Richard Montañez cleaned. So I saw that I was having an influence, that people were smiling because everything was so clean. So that was kind of my first revelation that I received, that, you know what, my work habits were going to contribute to the plant. That I was going to make sure, even though I wasn't running the plant, I was going to make sure that it was clean. I was going to make sure when the workers came into the break room that it was going to be spotless for them. And I was so excited. I would tell my friends, what are you, Richard? I'm the janitor. And people would say, wow, you're just a janitor? And I'd say this, you know what? There's no such thing as just a janitor when you believe in your heart that you're going to be the best. No such thing as just a waiter, a bus driver, a valet, a gardener. No such thing as just anything when you believe in your heart that you're going to be the best. So that's what I took on. But it was during a time when Frito-Lay was going through a bad time. Competition had reached our quality, competition was taking market share. So a new CEO comes into town, and the CEO sends out a video. Now, that was the only communication. There was no email. It was either a fax or a video. So he shut down all the plants across the globe, and I knew that that was serious because I thought, wow, you never shut plants down. But he had a message for us. And in that message, he said, I'm giving everyone permission to act like an owner. And there was about 1,000 people in the room, and I was in the back with the other, sanitation workers. And we all looked at each other, and they looked at me, and he said, Richard, he's not talking to you. He's not talking to us. He's talking to them. But I did something that I've been doing my whole life, and maybe you've done it. At some point, you're going to have to do this. And what is that? I broke ranks. I got away from them. Because I said, you know what? Here's the CEO speaking to everyone. He's speaking to the janitor. He's giving the janitor the opportunity to do something great. Now, sometimes you and I, especially as Latinos, I've traveled the world. I see that many times us as Latinos, we want to be great. But we feel we need somebody's permission. Let me tell you this. You don't need anybody's permission to become great. And if you feel that you do, well, guess what? I'm here today to tell you, you have my permission to become great. Go get your greatness. So I walked away from those guys, and I went and I told my wife, I said, hey, the CEO said we could all act like owners. And I remember, I said this, the leadership of a woman, I would take any day. Because of my grandma, my mom, and my wife, I am who I am today. They've inspired me, they've encouraged me, and they've reminded me of who I am. So I gravitate to the leadership of women. Matter of fact, I've said this. I believe with all my heart that when God created women, he was showing off. Because no other person can match the leadership of a woman. So she said, act like an owner. I didn't know what that meant. So right next to the plant, there was a sales office. And I remember I went and I found the salesperson. I asked the salesman, can I go with you on my day off? I'll load your truck. I'll do all the work. Just teach me the business. And he looked at me like, wow, man, you can come on your vacation if you want, free labor. So he said, okay, on your day off, meet me at 5 o'clock in the morning. So my day off came at 5 o'clock in the morning. I met him at the warehouse. And this gentleman, the salesman, taught me how to pull an order, how to fill it out, taught me how to load the truck to maximize the space. And then he taught me how to write a route up so that we could maximize our time and the gas. And we went to about 3 stores, and each store he was teaching me how to fill up our racks. We call them gondolas, how to fill them up to maximize everything. And about the 3rd store, I was about to receive one of the greatest revelations I would ever receive. What is a revelation? Something that was always there, but it's been unveiled and revealed to you. There it was. I looked and I saw it right there. And I looked at him. Guess what? He couldn't see what I saw. And you know why he couldn't see what I saw? Because he was an expert. He'd been doing that job for 15 years. You see, ladies and gentlemen, don't become such an expert that you can't see things anymore. I'm a visionary. The problem with being a visionary is we're 5 years ahead of everyone else. We have to have patience for everybody to catch up. I tell the people that work for me, when you bring me ideas, don't bring me ideas that everybody can see. Tap into the unseen. Let's go into the unseen and pull it and make it a reality. So what did I see? I saw the spice racks. I saw people buying chiles and spices. Now remember, this was a long time ago. Most of you probably weren't even born. But let me take you back to what our product lineup looked in those days. It was like this. Lay's, Ruffles, Fritos. Lay's, Ruffles, Fritos. So I thought, what would happen if we had a spicy chip? People love spices. So what's the first thing I do? I go to my inspiration. I tell my wife, hey babe, we're going to use your salsa, your chile, and we're going to put it on a chip. And she said, what chip? I don't know, but we're going to figure that out later. So I really didn't know. So it took about 2 weeks to figure this out. One day I went to a neighborhood grocery market where it was called a ranch market. And I would go there because I didn't have a bank account. And the owner in the community of that store was such a great man that he would cash our checks. And I loved it because, again, I didn't have a bank account, so it was really easy to cash my checks, and I'd buy groceries right there. And it was either on a Friday or a Saturday. But every weekend, there was this gentleman with his wife and two little kids about 5, 6 years old. And right when you walk out the door, this gentleman would be selling elotes. Before it was famous, okay? And he'd be standing there so happy. He'd go, "¿Cómo estás, señor? You know, how many do you want?" And I'd look at him, and I'd be amazed at his inspiration. He was a guy standing outside the store with his ice chest full of hot water and elotes, and his wife and his two kids. And he acted as though that was a 5-star restaurant. He inspired me. I would look at him and I said, "Man, where did he get that courage?" Other people would look at him and say, "Man, what shit? Look at him. He just, what?" But he would stand there and act like it was a 5-star restaurant. I thought, I got to get a hold of that type of inspiration. But see, that's the inspiration of a Latino. We are proud. There's no shame in our game. So I remember I said, "Well, let me have two. I bought one for me and my son." He's like, "Con todo?" I said, "Yeah, you know, I put everything on, put cheese, salsa, limon, you name it." And I gave one to my son, and I took a bite. I took another bite. A revelation. What's a revelation? Something that was always there, but has been revealed to you. That second bite, wow, that looks like a Cheeto. That looks like a Cheeto. So the question that every leader and entrepreneur needs to do is the question that I did. What if? What if I put Chile on this Cheeto? What will happen? What if I start that new business? What if I show up to that office? What if I create that new product? What if I run for a political office? The question that we grew up with, what if? So I ran inside and I told Judy, "I got it, we're going to put it on Cheetos." And she said, "Okay, cool." She's go to the plant and get some Cheetos with no cheese. So next day I went to the plant and, got a trash bag and I filled it up with Cheetos with no cheese. And I remember I put that trash bag and I put it like this. And I walked out the plant. People would look at me, even today, people would look at me and say, "Richard, you are so ghetto." And that's true, but I tell people, yeah, I'm ghetto, but I'm ghetto rich. You see, that's one of the things that I learned from the audio. That's one of the things that I learned from the hood. Young people, never forget where you came from. Leverage it. I didn't change who I am. I'm still that same person. Matter of fact, I've had to learn to kind of bring it down a level as a Latino because I'm in a tie just about every day. And I've told people, watch how you talk to me because I can take this tie off and we can go outside and talk about it if you want. And my wife would jump and say, "Richard, we're not like that." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Because I am from the hood. Good things come from the hood. Learn to leverage your ghetto-ness. Let me put it this way. Your hoodness, listen to me. Write this down. Your hoodness is part of your highness. Your hoodness will lead you to your highness. Everybody wants to be a king and queen. Never forget your hood. So we began to put the salsa on there, and it took us a little while, and we finally got it. She took some to her work, I took some to my work. We came back, and everybody said the same thing. You have to call the CEO. So Judy said, "Call the CEO, Richard." I said, "Are you sure?" You got to remember, this is during when corporate America was a command and control. What is command and control? I didn't hire you to think. I hired you to do what I tell you to do. That's command and control. I hadn't heard the word empowerment yet. You see, I believe with all my heart that Latinos are leaders of the word empowerment. I believe that we have empowered this country by our work ethics, by our innovation, by our ingenuity, by our hoodness. Look, let me tell you this, okay, so you can understand this. In every room that you're in, when it's full of leaders, you will find two types of leaders. Now, you're going to have to decide which leader you are. I've had both of them. The first leader is the leader that I call the Pharaoh. Now, what is a Pharaoh? A Pharaoh is someone who takes people captive to build everything in their image. Everything looks like them. Everything sounds like them. Everything is about them. Then there's the deliverer. What style is the leadership of deliverer? Just that. They come into your life to help deliver you to be everything you're intended to be. You see, I've had both. But during my idea, everyone was a Pharaoh. It was about them. So I went to the plant the next day, and I found the CEO's phone number. Now remember, you don't call the CEO. No one calls the CEO. Well, I didn't know that. What did I do? I called him up, and this is how the conversation went. His executive assistant, Patty, who has since retired, she's a multi-millionaire. She started her own company. She was an executive assistant. She was a visionary because she took my call and she put it through. And this is how the call went. I told her I had an idea. And I said, "Hi, this is Richard Montañez. Can I talk to the CEO?" And she said, "Well, what division do you run?" Because remember, only a president would call the CEO. I said, "No, I work in California." And she said, "Oh, you're the president of California?" I said, "No, I work in Southern California." "Oh, you're the senior vice president of California." I said, "No, I work in the plant." She said, "Oh, you're the vice president of operations." I said, "No, I work inside the plant." And she said, "Are you the plant manager? The director?" I said, "No." She said, "What are you?" "I'm the janitor." And she said, "Hang on." A couple minutes went by, and I noticed she did a job selling my idea because when the CEO got on, he was so excited. He called me by my first name. He said, "Richard, I heard you got an idea for me." And I began to tell him in the only way I know how, speaking through my heart. The only way that I learned from watching my parents, watching the fiestas, the carne asadas and all that. And by the time we were done, he said, "I'll be there in 2 weeks. I want to see your idea. I want to talk to you." I hung up the phone and I'm just like, wow, I did it. I was floating. He's coming to see the janitor. But listen to me, especially you young people, listen to me, okay? This is another thing you need to write down. I don't care what room you're in. There's always somebody in that room going to try to steal your destiny. We need so more for Latinos. People always trying to steal our destiny, who we are. So I wasn't ready for it. I got ready later. So protocol goes into action. The president calls, the senior vice president calls, all the way down to the plant manager. The conversation is the same. Who let the janitor call the CEO? Who's this Richard Montañez? So by the time the plant manager got it, guess what? It was about 20 minutes. He came looking for me, and when he found me, again, during corporate America was command and control, nothing but pharaohs running around. Well, he just ripped me apart. He cussed me out, and he's like, "Who do you think you are? You realize what you've done? Now I got to paint the place. Everybody's coming because of you." And he said, "You're doing the presentation." I thought for a moment, I'm doing the presentation? I've never even done homework. So I remember I went home, and as soon as I walked in, Judy could see that something was wrong because I walked in real sad. And she said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I'm going to get fired." And she said, "Why?" I said, "Because you told me to call the CEO. I did. Now I'm in trouble. He's coming to see me." Typical leadership of a woman. She tells me, "Calm down. It's not that bad. We're going to go to the library and check out a book on how to develop a marketing strategy." And I was so excited. I said, "Okay, let's go." Remember, there was no Google. We went to the library, picked out 3 books, took them home, and one book I liked, and I actually copied 3 paragraphs from that book. Now, I didn't know what it meant, but I just put them down on a transparency because they just sounded good. I said, "Well, I think I can play the part with this." So we put them on transparency. I went and bought my first tie for $3.50 at the Goodwill. This isn't it. And I had my neighbor make it into a knot, and the night before, so that way in the morning I just put it on, and I didn't know how to tie a knot yet. So the night before, me and my wife and my children, we made 100 bags. I went to the store, an industrial store, and I bought industrial Ziplocs. The ingenuity and the innovation of the Latino, the simple contributions that we made. I'm a little bit of an artist, so I drew on the bag, and we put the product in. We made 100 bags, but we didn't know how to seal it. I wanted to seal it so it really looked like it almost looked like the perfect bag you would see in the store. So how can we seal it? And I thought, okay, ingenuity from the hood. The hood is good. The plancha. I got the iron. And at the right temperature. I told you I was ghetto. Oh, those 100 bags, they came out perfect. So I was like, okay, let's go. I'm just like, yeah, we're ready. And I put on my tie. I got my presentation. I got it ready. I got my 100 bags. And Judy did 3 things for me before I left. And these are the 3 things that I hope I'm doing right now. The first thing that she did was she inspired me. What does it mean to inspire? It simply means to breathe life into someone. Second thing she did, she encouraged me. What does encouragement mean? It means to take courage and plant it in somebody's deepest being. The last thing she did, she reminded me of who I was. How did she inspire me? As I was walking out, she said, Richard, I don't know anybody who's smarter than you. I was inspired. She said, Richard, I don't know anybody who has more courage than you. I was encouraged. And she said, Richard, remember your last name. Remember who you are. Remember what your father and your grandfather taught you. I was reminded of the value that I was to humanity and who I was. You do those 3 things for the people that work for you or work around you. Just imagine the courage and the abilities that you give them to go conquer things. So I got to the plant, and anybody in my organization was there. The chief marketing officer, chief financial officer, everybody was there. Maybe 60 of the top executives in the country. Pharaohs. Everybody was mad. And they let me know by the looks that they were giving me. Nobody was smiling at me. Nobody was saying, I'm proud of you. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. A lot of times, you and I, we got to go alone. That's what leadership is. Somebody said, if you want to know if you're a leader, just turn around and see how many people are following you. That's not true. Because many times leaders go by themselves. No one wants to follow a leader because sometimes they're just so crazy. So many times we go by ourselves. I'm a leader, but nobody wanted to follow me because it was too crazy. It was too ridiculous. So people are looking at me like, what are you going to teach me? I'm a scientist. I'm a PhD. I'm this, I'm that. You don't even have a GED. So as nervous and scared as I was, there was something inside of me that was greater. So I've got my presentation. I don't know if you've ever done transparency. You probably haven't because that's a long time ago. I remember I put it on there, and guess what? It's upside down. Like, oh man. I turned it around. It's still upside down. Like, I was so happy when I got it. That was like my first win. I got the transparency right. So I started my presentation, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I was doing it. I had their attention. And that's when I learned, when I said, I'm not trying to influence everyone, only the right ones. I had their attention. And again, how was I doing it? But what I learned at the dinner table. What I learned at the fiestas, by watching my peers, my parents, everybody talk, just with passion and having a great time. I was just doing myself. I wasn't trying to fake anybody. This was a great idea. I had their attention. But it was going too good. Because there's always somebody in the room trying to steal your destiny, right? Your job is to be ready for it. So I hand those up to one of the marketing executives. I literally turned around and ignored that hand because I didn't know how to answer questions. So he finally, because I didn't look at him, he finally called my name and he said, Richard, I have a question. And I'm like, oh, we don't have time for questions. And he's like, it's just a simple question. And inside I'm thinking, yeah, but Judy didn't get me ready for questions. So he said, well, It's a simple one, so I'm like, okay. How much market share are we talking about? Market share? We haven't read that chapter yet. That's the first thing I thought. What is market share? Oh, no, we didn't get to that chapter yet. I froze. Now I'm fainted. This is true. I was so scared. Everything that I had failed at came at me at one time. Who do you think you are? There was a door, and I just thought, I'm going to run out that door. After all, I'm just a janitor. I shouldn't be up here. You know, I have no right to be here. But there was something inside of me that was greater than the fear that was outside of me. I'm going to give you the antidote to fear. Get a hold of this and you'll never be afraid again. Maybe you already have it. If you don't, I want you to get a hold of it. Let's go to the 60s when I was a little boy. Because I've said this many times. Sometimes you got to go back to your past and you can find your future. Your past is a pillar to your future. Your past is part of your foundation. Never run or hide from it. So in those days, desegregation came into existence. I went to an all-Latino school. Everybody spoke Spanish. And one day they took us to a school that just spoke English. I remember we were at the school, and then after school they had reading classes. One for Latinos and one for the white kids. And every Tuesday, listen to me young people, every Tuesday I got into the line that I was told to get into. They said, that's your line over there. That line was picked for me, so I got into the line. Guess what I did one day? I broke ranks, and I got into the white line. You should have heard my own saying, Ricardo, estás loco, you're in the wrong line, get back over here. But I looked inside the trailer. There were two beautiful blondes with blue eyes. And I looked inside the trailer. They had cookies in there. And I looked at my friends. I said, they have cookies. I'm going to get us some cookies. Now, I was scared because I was going to get beat, okay? This is the 60s. The teachers in my trailer are going to beat me for being in that line. Or the white teachers are going to beat me for being in that line. Either way, there's a beating waiting for me. So as scared as I am as a little boy, I kept getting closer and closer. I finally made it in. You know what those two white ladies did? They filled my pockets with cookies. Now you're wondering, what's the moral of that story? There's two parts. Here's what I want you to get. Here's what you need to write down. Here's what you need to understand. Two parts. There's a cookie that's been baked for you. Your job is to get out of that line they told you to get into and get into the cookie line. Get out of the poverty line, get into the prosperity line. Get out of the job line, get into the career line. Get out of the line that you don't mind, get into a line. As a matter of fact, how dare anyone say that's your line? We need to tell our young people that the line is your choice. Get into the line of whatever you want to be. It should never be picked for you. That's the first part. The second part, as scared as I was, why did I break ranks from the Latinos and get into the white line? Because I was hungry. Hunger is the antidote to fear. When you're hungry for that promotion, fear will leave. When you're hungry to start that business, fear will leave. When you're hungry to run for that political office, fear will leave. When you're hungry to move into that neighborhood that you dreamed about, fear will leave. So back to the question. How much market share? I was so scared. I had a lot of fear. But there was something inside of me that was greater than the fear. I was hungry. Hungry for what? Hungry for a different life. Hungry to do more. Hungry for my legacy. Hungry for my last name. Hungry to show people that Latinos are capable of doing great things. But what is market share? Now, many times I've said this. You have to understand this. That many times greatness will come in a ridiculous form. You must be willing to look ridiculous in order to achieve your greatness. If you never want to look ridiculous, you will never achieve your greatness. So I'm thinking about market share, and I remember our racks. I remember I stood back and I got it. I said, this much market share. That's so ridiculous. I had a big smile. This much market share. And I could see all the marketing executives were like, oh my God, did he just say? It was like the most stupidest thing they ever heard. My CEO stood up. I realized that my CEO was not a pharaoh. He was a deliverer because he stood up and he said, ladies and gentlemen, do you realize that Richard just showed us how to go after that much market share? You know that this statement made me a legend in my company. This statement created a product that sells about $2 billion a year. This statement created 14 other products that sell $1 billion plus a year. This ridiculous statement has led me to the White House, has led me to the United Nations, has opened so many doors, has sent me across the world. That's why I say that in order to achieve your greatness, you've got to be willing to look ridiculous. You know what? I wish I was there with you. I've had a great time. You know, I look forward to coming back and visiting with you in the great city of Philly. Again, congratulations for putting this event together. And I'm so happy that you didn't quit. And I will close with this story. You know, when people talk about champions, you and I, we're champions. And people say, but you're not an athlete. You're not a fighter. The origin of the word champion meant this. It didn't mean the person that won the fight. It meant anybody who got into the ring was a champion. The Greeks used it. The Romans used it. I use it. You see, a champion is anybody who gets in the ring. Whether you won or lost, it's something different. Getting into the ring, you're a champion. And because you didn't quit this event because of COVID, because you used your creativity, your ingenuity to put this together, you are a champion. Remember that. A champion is somebody who gets into the ring. Get into the ring one more time because you're not done. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Montañez. Your story is amazing and inspirational to all of us. As I mentioned earlier, tonight we're celebrating the 5th annual Hispanic Heritage Awards, and so we decided to check in on past honorees to see what they're up to and to discuss what receiving the Hispanic Heritage Award meant to them.
Hello, this is Councilwoman Maria Quiñones Sanchez. Being recognized by Aldea during Hispanic Heritage Month for me, professionally, has been quite an honor. Being recognized by your peers that you work with every single day, the stakeholders in your constituencies, lets you know that people are watching what you're doing. Aldea creates a forum by which you can tell your story, talk about what's going on in our community, and together we can help find solutions. What does it mean to be an archetype? It really means that the uniqueness of the voice that you bring to the people that you're representing, whether in a particular profession or field, is hugely important. When you're the first entering this field, you have a unique responsibility to make sure that you are opening doors for others. Be unique, be special, understand you represent a community, and be the best that you can be at the work that you are doing. If you love what you're doing, it isn't a job. It becomes a mission and a purpose. Congratulations to the class of 2020 Aldea Hispanic Heritage Month honorees. To Dr. Ludmir from Jefferson Hospital, thank you for your service. Congreso de Latinos Unido, a pivotal stakeholder in the 7th Councilmatic District. To Lou Rodriguez, a growing businessman opening doors for young people in his field. To Representative Danilo Burgos, an alumni of Team Sanchez. And to Dr. Evelyn Nunez, the highest ranking Latina at the school district. I have the pleasure of working with all of you. Congratulations. And thank you for your service to all the citizens of Philadelphia. But in this month of Hispanic Heritage Month, you make us all proud. Felicidades.
Hey, buenos días. This is Nilda Ruiz, the President and CEO of Asociación de Puertorriqueños en Marcha. Last year, we were the honorees of the Aldea Hispanic Heritage Awards, and it increased our visibility incredibly. We got calls from people that we didn't know before, and now we have so many more friends. And thank you so much, Aldea, for increasing that visibility of the work that I have done, and also of Asociación Puertorriqueños en Marcha. I just wanted to congratulate all of the honorees this year. It is so well deserved. I was asked, what does an archetype mean to me? An archetype to me is somebody who's original and authentic and someone that should be emulated and copied. And I think that all of the awardees this year possess that quality. So congratulations to all of you. I know you all, and I know that it is very well deserved. Dr. Jack Lemire, Carolina, from a peer agency, Congreso, Luis Rodriguez for his entrepreneurship, State Representative Danilo Burgos, who does such a great job representing all of us in this great state of Pennsylvania, and Dr. Evelyn Nunez. Congratulations to all of you. Todos son un orgullo hispano. Que Dios los bendiga.
2 years ago, I was honored by receiving the prestigious Al Dia Hispanic Heritage Award that you are endowed today. When we receive this award, we are called archetypes of the future. This is a great responsibility, to be a role model to those around us and also for those who are coming after us. To be a role model is not a posture. It is a personal quest for greatness. This sense of greatness has been lost in our hedonistic society, contaminated by the social Darwinism of selfishness. When we depart ourselves of the cocoon of our self-interest for those causes that make our humanity better, is when we are becoming the role model that our society needs. All of you have distinguished today with this Heritage Award for taking the initiative to break the mold and show to the world that you can do it, that you can pursue your dreams of greatness. This means not to be afraid of the solo fly like the condor does in the high of the Andes Mountains. That is to be a role model. Not to be afraid to be alone, pursuing your dreams and to fly as high as you can do it, knowing the others need you and that you are the God hand's extension to help them. Because we are co-creators with God of this world that belongs to us. This is what this Heritage Award means.
Hi, I'm Juan Lopez. I was the 2017 recipient of the Al Dia Hispanic Heritage Month Award for Leadership in Business. I would echo what I said back then when I received this award. I was and still am humbled to be amongst the winners that year and the winners since. At Independence Blue Cross, I play an important role as a leader in our finance team. But I'm most proud of my work internally and across the community around diversity and inclusion, as well as access to healthcare. As the leader of our supplier diversity work, I'm proud to say that we have close to 25% of our spend with small, diverse businesses, and we continue our efforts in this regard. Finally, I'm so proud of my work in the nonprofit space outside of Independence. There are many great causes, but being able to give back in a meaningful way with my gifts to the Latino community in our city energizes me every day. To this year's award recipients, I say thank you for all of your efforts and the work that has brought you here today. Please continue those efforts and inspire others to reach higher. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Shidlow. I am the Dean Emeritus of Drexel University College of Medicine. As a past recipient of the Hispanic Heritage Awards of Al Dia, I would like to congratulate this outstanding group of leaders that are the recipients of this prestigious award, this galardón, today. To be an archetype means to be a prototype, a model, a standard, the embodiment of an idea, of contributions, of actions that absolutely highlight the relevance of the Hispanic community in this country and in this area. You all are wonderful archetypes, examples of what Hispanic leaders contribute to this country. What this award has done for me is not only to give me ample recognition for whatever contributions I have made, but also an ongoing validation and a platform to continue to contribute and to be part of the ever-growing, vibrant Hispanic community of this country. Thank you. My best wishes to all of you, and my best wishes to Aldea, its leadership, and its efforts to continue to highlight the relevance of Hispanic heritage and Hispanic contribution to the world and to this country and to this community.
Muchas felicidades. Congratulations to this year's Aldea Hispanic Heritage 2020 Award recipients. As I am sure you know, every single year Aldea thinks about the issues that are impacting our community and well beyond. And then it also does the work of considering those individuals who are not just looking at the issues and admiring them from afar, but who take a step forward, roll up their sleeves, and really focus on pushing our community and our work forward. You are precisely doing that. And for that, we consider you an archetype. If you think about that word, it's intentional. What it means is an archetype is something that we ought to lift up, that we ought to model after, that we ought to follow. And so we have been following your work, and we are exceptionally proud of you for not only the work you do, but the way in which you do it. I am thankful that I received the award in 2019, and of course, it did a tremendous job of opening doors, connecting me with new individuals, connecting me with new spaces. That was a value add, but I think the most important part of the award for me was the opportunity to have mi propia comunidad, my own community, kind of say, job well done, right? It always means so much more when it comes from your own. And so today, your own, tu comunidad, is telling you, job very, very well done. Congratulations to every single one of you. We know that you've done the work in the past, and we can't wait to see what you do in the future. Felicidades.
And with that, a very special thank you to all of our honorees, past and present. To present the first award tonight, I would like to introduce a transformative leader and advocate for a revolution in our systems of healthcare and higher education, Dr. Stephen Klasko. As president of Philadelphia-based Thomas Jefferson University and CEO of Jefferson Health, which he's led since 2013, it has become one of the nation's fastest growing academic health institutions based on his vision of reimagining healthcare and higher education. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Stephen Klasko.
If I were to sit here and list all the titles and awards of Dr. Jack Ledmere, we'd be here for the rest of the night. But here are just a few. In addition to being the co-founder of South Philadelphia's Puentes de Salud to carry his previously mentioned life mission, Jack is also the director of Latina Community Health Services and the Jefferson Latina Women's Clinic. All of these are geared toward helping women in the surrounding communities, no matter what their status is, and with or without insurance. Academically, Dr. Ledmere is the Executive Vice President for Equity, the Associate Provost for Community Engagement, and a Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology and Population Health at Thomas Jefferson University. Before Jefferson, he was on the staff of the University of Pennsylvania for a number of years. As a child, Jack was born and raised in Peru and moved to the U.S. with his wife, Blima, to pursue their education. He calls her the backbone of their efforts into the community. But both of them share the common belief that they were put on this earth to do some good in the world. That belief and their work is more than deserving of Aldea's health archetype. So please join me in welcoming my friend and colleague, Dr. Jack Ledmere, the 2020 Aldea Hispanic Heritage Award winner for health. Congratulations, Jack.
I'm deeply humbled and honored to receive the Aldea Hispanic Heritage Award in Health. I would like to thank Aldea and the nominating committee for this incredible award. There is no greater satisfaction than to be recognized by the leaders and the community you serve and love. I am a high-risk obstetrician that has dedicated his life to reduce the burden of maternal and infant morbidity and mortality locally and globally, in particular in Latin America. For the last 20 years, we have dedicated our efforts to help and support the growing Hispanic migrant population in Philadelphia, with special consideration to provide free prenatal care to women that are uninsured and in many cases undocumented. These women do not have access to care, and in many cases are here escaping tremendous violence and horror. Our mission is to provide care and support regardless of ability to pay or country of origin, recognizing that even though our language and family values are common to all Hispanics, we need to understand and respect the unique differences that we have by region and country. For the last 3 years, I've been fortunate to work at Jefferson and had the opportunity to start the Philadelphia Collaborative for Health Equity. Our mission is to leverage health as a catalyst that allows every Philadelphia family reach their full potential. One of our initiatives has been in working closely with the East-North Hispanic community in Philadelphia, providing catalyst grants based on community needs, and working closely with a community advisory board of more than 30 organizations to improve the community health and well-being. We have involved teenagers that, through a photo voice project, have documented how their neighborhoods affect their well-being, and now are active participants in finding solutions. COVID-19 has exacerbated the health disparities that affect our communities, and we need to continue to raise not only awareness to the disparities, but to actively work in providing solutions. People are struggling and feeling down. The actual mood is reflected by one of the poems from my Peruvian compatriot Cesar Vallejo with his poem Los Heraldos Negros. Hay golpes en la vida tan fuertes yo no sé. There are such hard blows in life, I don't know. But we should have hope. A new day will come back, like the poet Ana Santini writes. El corazón vuelve a latir, las lágrimas traen nuevas sonrisas, el hoy será mañana, pero un nuevo día volverá. The heart beats again, the tears bring new smiles. Today will be tomorrow, but a new day will come back. I want to finish my remarks by thanking some of my mentors in the Hispanic community, like Reverend Luis Cortez, Judge Nelson Diaz, and Romy Diaz, for their constant advice and encouragement. I also want to thank my colleagues at Jefferson and the Philadelphia Collaborative for Health Equity for their dedication and constant work to improve the well-being of our communities. And finally, I want to thank my wife Blima for her daily dedication and caring of the vulnerable and underserved. She is my source of inspiration. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Ledmere. Our second presenter is a top-performing executive leader with expertise at the crossroads of communications, marketing, and business, Ms. Myra Bergman. With more than 20 years of global experience leading highly complex, highly visible projects for Fortune 500 companies, she's proven herself a strong presence within corporate America. Please welcome Myra Bergman, Vice President of Communications for PECO.
Good evening. It's an honor to be here tonight celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month with all of you. I have the pleasure to introduce one of our honorees tonight. Her journey in the United States began when she arrived from Honduras as a child with her family to the Miami airport. Her first adventure of being in the United States was getting lost after getting into an elevator ahead of her family. Carolina Cabrera de Giorgio and her family were on their way to New Jersey. Her parents, Brenda and Gaspar Cabrera, had left their careers in their home country so their children could have a better education and a brighter future in the U.S. Carolina took full advantage of the opportunities in front of her. She graduated from Rutgers Law and built a career at Stradley Ronan as an attorney. It was then that she learned about Congreso de Latinos Unidos, a nonprofit organization dedicated to serving the North Philadelphia community for over 40 years. Carolina served on the organization's board for almost 10 years before being named its executive director in 2017. Since her appointment, Congreso had been named a top place to work in Philadelphia, and Carolina herself was named one of the Delaware Valley's most influential Latinos. She's also shifted the organization's focus to cater to Latino youth. Carolina remains dedicated to a community that reminds her a lot of her own story, a family that left friends, family, and careers behind to pursue the American dream. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating Carolina Cabrera de Giorgio, Aldea's 2020 Hispanic Heritage Award for Nonprofit.
Happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everyone. Gracias a todos por estar aquí celebrando nuestro orgullo latino. Gracias to Aldea and the leadership of Hernan Guaracao for celebrating the contributions of our Latinx community, not only during Hispanic Heritage Month, but throughout the year. I'd like to give a special thank you to Pico and to Mike Inocenso and Nelson Diaz for their leadership on the advisory board, and to all of the members of the advisory board. Thank you so much for deciding to honor my professional career and my family's journey during this year's very special Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. This is a wonderful opportunity that we have every year to celebrate, to acknowledge, to showcase all of the achievements, all of the contributions, to share our culture and our traditions with the entire nation, and to showcase how proud we are of our Latino heritage. I'd like to congratulate all of the other honorees for their professional achievements and their journeys. I loved reading their profiles in the Aldea articles that were shared earlier this month. I'd like to thank my Congreso Board of Directors and all of my teammates there who work so hard each and every day to make a positive community impact, to serve as role models for our Latino youth, and to highlight and showcase our journeys each and every day. Of course, I'd like to thank my family, my parents, my husband, my children, for all of the support that I received from them in my professional endeavors. I hope everyone is taking this opportunity to showcase their family roots, to showcase their traditions, to serve as role models for our younger generations, and making sure that our achievements are known across the nation. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
Thank you, Carolina. Our third presenter is the president of Widener University, Dr. Julie Woolman. Dr. Woolman is a passionate, fearless, and effective advocate and leader in higher education. She is the 10th president of Widener University, a role she assumed in January of 2016. Guided by a relentless pursuit of excellence, she's articulated a clear vision and distinct goals for the university focused on providing an unrivaled learning experience. Please welcome Dr. Julie Woolman.
Our next awardee grew up in Delaware County in the 1970s and 80s. Lou Rodriguez remembers having to choose between being bullied for having his father's Puerto Rican heritage or identifying with his mother's Polish roots. The result was an uneasy relationship with his Latino heritage that he took into his career as an engineer over 30 years ago. The first ever GIS manager at the Philadelphia Water Department, Lou now runs his own engineering consulting firm, Rodriguez, which he launched in 2007. His relationship with his Puerto Rican roots also changed around the time that he started his own business. One day, Rodriguez walked into the Greater Philadelphia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and asked to speak with then President Varsovia Fernandez. Turns out there weren't many Latino engineers like him, and he had an important role to play as a model and mentor for others. That's a role he also plays at his alma mater, Widener University, where I'm proud to say he serves on our board of trustees. More than a decade after his first visit to Fernandez, now as board chair of the Greater Philadelphia Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Rodriguez supports other Latino business owners like himself across our region. He was also named by the Philadelphia Business Journal as one of the region's Power 100 in 2017, Please join me in proudly welcoming the 2020 Aldea Hispanic Heritage Award winner for Business, Lou Rodriguez.
Thank you, Aldea, for awarding me the 2020 Hispanic Heritage Award as entrepreneur. When I think of the people that most impacted my career as a professional and entrepreneur, I think of two women that mentored me as an engineer and inspired me to start a consulting practice. The first is Sue Lior, my manager when I worked at the Philadelphia Water Department as GIS Program Manager. Sue is a pioneer when it comes to developing technology that allows civil engineers to make better informed decisions. She was also the first person to explain to me the challenges that women face in the male-dominated world of engineering. She had once owned her own consulting firm and warned me of the challenges of performing as a subcontractor on government projects under paid-when-paid contracts. She was truly ahead of her time. The second is Deb Ayers, the owner and founder of ATech Engineering, the last company I would work for before I started Rodriguez. Deb is a great engineer and business owner, but she is an even greater wife, mom, and person of faith. Deb mentored me in engineering and business, but most importantly about life. She emphasized how important it is to make sure God and family always come before work and business. Deb also taught me how important it is to give back to the community. Most importantly, I want to thank God for giving me the wisdom, health, and patience to successfully own and operate a business. Without him, none of this is possible. I also want to recognize my wife, Nicole, the person that has had the most impact on my life and the rock that provided the support and encouragement I needed to start and run a business. She not only ran the home office, but she also made sure that our house and our children were taken care of and went to work each day as a nurse and provided the stable source of income and benefits that our family needed to allow me to take the necessary risks to start Rodriguez. She is also the silent partner that I come to when I need to make the big decisions. Lastly, I want to recognize and congratulate all of the Aldea 2020 Hispanic Heritage awardees. It is truly an honor to see my name alongside so many great leaders in this region. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Lou. Our fourth presenter is Juan Lopez. He is the Senior Vice President of Finance Shared Services at Independence Blue Cross. In his role, Mr. Lopez leads corporate accounting, investments, treasury, procurement, and building services, fostering efficiency and effectiveness in these arenas. He reports directly to the company's Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer, providing strategic guidance and identifying opportunities for business innovation and process refinement. Please welcome Mr. Juan Lopez.
This year's Public Service Award winner is an individual who's made Pennsylvania political history as the first Dominican elected to serve in the Pennsylvania General Assembly. But ask him about it, and he'll turn the conversation to community, trust, and fostering strong relationships. Representative Danilo Burgos may be the first Dominican to ever grace the halls of Harrisburg as a state representative, but he's made it clear he's there to represent every Latino, no matter where they come from. Born in New York City, Representative Burgos came to Philadelphia when he was 10 years old. His organizing start came in 1998, a year out of high school, and shortly after opening his first grocery store, he banded together with other grocers to create the Dominican Grocers Association of Philadelphia. He took that same sense of community unity and power into a career in public service that's now spanned close to 20 years, from Philadelphia City Hall to the halls of the state capitol. Representative Burgos fights for North Philadelphia, whether it be education reform, encouraging job opportunities, or empowering his district's small businesses. He is truly the Dominican for all Latinos in Harrisburg. Now please join me in honoring the winner of the 2020 Aldea Hispanic Heritage Award for Public Service, Pennsylvania State Representative Danilo Burgos.
Hello, I am State Representative Danilo Burgos. I'm honored to receive the Aldea Hispanic Heritage 2020 Award for Public Service. It's a truly humbling experience, and I'd like to thank the Aldea team, the Aldea Foundation, my family, my mother, my children, and I will continue to be committed to the hard work that my district deserves and the Latino community throughout the state of Pennsylvania. Thank you, and congratulations to all the honorees.
Thank you, Representative Burgos. As our final presenter, I am honored to welcome Villanova University's 32nd president, Reverend Peter Donahue. Under his leadership, the university has charted a course of bold transformation that includes initiating and embarking on two ambitious 10-year strategic plans, launching the university's largest comprehensive fundraising campaign, initiating a vibrant campus renovation, and dramatically expanding student opportunities. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Peter Donahue.
Our next archetype has a story every student in the school district of Philadelphia should hear. I say that because Dr. Evelyn Nunez is a product of the school district of Philadelphia. A proud Puerto Rican, Dr. Nunez has lived in Philadelphia since she was 3 years old. After graduating from Chestnut Hill College, she began teaching in Philadelphia. 27 years later, Dr. Nunez is the chief of schools in Philadelphia. And throughout that time, she's been a constant advocate for Latinx students, from expanding and providing translation services to working alongside parents to create the best learning environments for children. Now in her new role, she does the same for all Philadelphia students. Recently, Dr. Nunez has been at the forefront of transitioning the schools district of Philadelphia to a virtual format amid the coronavirus pandemic. Needless to say, if there's anyone in Philadelphia deserving of the title Education Archetype, it is Dr. Nunez. So please, help me welcome the 2020 Aldea Hispanic Heritage Award recipient in education, Dr. Evelyn Nunez.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Nunez, and I am the proud Chief of Schools for the School District of Philadelphia. I'm invited here today as the recipient for the Aldea's Hispanic Heritage a Month Award for the Education Archetype. I am both honored and privileged to join you all today. Many of you may not know, but I was born in Ay Bonito, Puerto Rico, and my mother chose to move to Philadelphia when I was 3 years old with my 5 siblings. Since then, my mother and father raised me to value education. I find that quite interesting because my parents only went to school to 3rd and 4th grade. And while they were not offered the opportunity to get educated beyond elementary school, they instilled in me the value and the importance of education. I have been able to fulfill the goal of earning a doctorate degree in educational leadership and have spent the last 27 years serving the Philadelphia community through the education sector. This road has been filled of many successes and many challenges. I am privileged to represent the Latino community in this capacity and honored to continue this work as we work closely to ensure that every child in Philadelphia is offered the civil right of a quality education. Never before have we been in the circumstances that we are in today. A manual has not been written on how to lead a large urban school district during the COVID-19 pandemic. I am thankful to work alongside a wonderful superintendent, Dr. William Haidt, a wonderful group of chiefs, assistant superintendents, and over 500 school leaders who are just as committed in serving the Philadelphia community and ensuring that all of our children, but specifically our most vulnerable children, our Black and brown children, are receiving a quality education no matter what the circumstance may be. I am honored to have been able to serve and continue to serve the Philadelphia community. I'm honored to be here today, and I want to pay privilege to the village that has always and unconditionally supported me through this journey, starting with my mother and my father. Mamá y papá, gracias por hacerme la mujer que soy hoy. Le agradezco todo el cariño, el amor que usted me ha provido. Los quiero mucho. I want to thank my loving daughter, who every day reminds me that she's focused on her college education because she has big shoes to fill. Honey, you've already filled those shoes. I am extremely proud of you, and I thank you for inspiring me every day to do better than the day before. Lastly, I want to thank the Philadelphia community for working with me, for giving me the opportunity to serve you, and to continue to work with you in educating our children. Thank you, Aldea, for this privilege and this honor. I'd like to end with a quote from one of my idols, a Puerto Rican woman, the Honorable Sotomayor. Sotomayor has said, "Until we bring equity into education, we won't have an equal society." I challenge you all to stand up where you are and speak out for equality. Speak out for fairness for all. Speak out for what we deserve. I challenge you all in the next coming days and weeks to stand up and vote. I challenge you, get up and get it done. I want to thank you, Aldea, for this honor once again. I want to thank the Philadelphia community. And more importantly, I want to thank the Latino community in Philadelphia. It's been a pleasure. Es un honor. Take care and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nunez. And thank you all for attending, and thank you again to our sponsors, too. Before we conclude, a final performance by Daniela Mack and pianist Kyun A. Lee. Daniela will be performing Pueblita Mi Pueblo and You'll Never Walk Alone. Please enjoy, and lastly, it has been my honor to serve as your host once again this year. My name is Walter Perez. Good night.
Extraño tus tardes, querido pueblito, no puedo olvidarte. Cuánta nostalgia ceñida tengo en el alma esta tarde. Ay, si pudiera otra vez bajo tus sauces soñar, viendo las nubes que pasan. Ay, cuando el sol ya se va, sentir la brisa al pasar, fragante por los azares. Pueblito, mi pueblo, extraño tus tardes. Querido pueblito, no puedo olvidarte. Querido pueblito, no puedo olvidarte. When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end